The world tilted sideways the moment I saw it. The glint of polished steel. The stark silhouette against the setting sunite was a gun. And it was pointed at my daughter. My breath hitched. A gasp that felt ripped from the very core of my soul. This couldn't be happening. Not here. Not in our quiet, perfect suburban bubble. Officer Karen. Badge 412. The self-appointed queen of the HOA. Had a firearm aimed squarely at my little girl, who was standing on our own front lawn, holding nothing but a reusable coffee cup. Stay where you are, you menace. The cop hissed. Her voice a low, gravelly snarl that cut through the evening's tranquil hum. My chest constricted. A drumbeat of pure, unadulterated fear thundering in my ears. How did we get here? Just moments earlier, the air had been thick with the sweet scent of honeysuckle and freshly cut grass. My daughter, Layla, was doing her evening stretch, her lithe body a study in calm concentration. That's when Officer Karen and her sister, Patricia, the HOA president, pulled up. It started with a trivial complaint. As it always did. The excessively high grass on our nature strip. A complaint Patricia had filed for the third time this month. I walked out to meet them, a weary sigh escaping my lips before I could stop it. My daughter, ever the peacemaker, tried to explain we were letting it grow for the local pollinators. The rules are the rules, Patricia declared, her face a puce red mask of fury. And the rules state that your property is an eyesore. It was a ridiculous escalation. And I felt the familiar irritation bubble up. But then, the badge, the uniform, the gun. Officer Karen unholstered her weapon in a motion so fluid and practiced it chilled me to the bone. I'm telling you for the last time, she sneered. The clicking sound of the safety being disengaged echoing in the sudden, terrifying silence. Put the knife down. I blinked. A knife. There was no knife. There was only Layla. Her eyes wide with shock. Her hands empty except for the coffee cup. The world seemed to shrink to just that one terrifying point of focus, the gun. What are you doing? I heard myself ask. My voice a strained whisper. It was the only thing I could say. My mind was a chaotic storm of panic. But my body felt like it was moving in slow motion. Every sense heightened. The smell of gun oil was suddenly overpowering. The low thrum of a passing car seemed impossibly loud. I took a step forward. My hand outstretched. A futile, pathetic gesture. She has nothing. You're making a mistake. Officer Karen's eyes, cold and hard as flint, darted to me. Stay back. This is an active situation. Resisting arrest. Assault on an officer, she rattled off a list of charges. Each one more ludicrous than the last. Patricia, meanwhile, was on her phone. A vicious smirk playing on her lips. I'm calling for backup. We have a non-compliant suspect. And an accomplice. The words were like a punch to the gut. An accomplice. They were fabricating a crime in real time. Right in front of our house. On our lives. But in that moment, something shifted. A different kind of silence fell. It wasn't the silence of fear, but of a calculated, razor-sharp calm. I watched Layla. She wasn't trembling. She wasn't cowering. Her eyes, fixed on the gun, were still wide. But they were also assessing. A flicker of something I recognized. A certain steeliness. A readiness. It was a look I hadn't seen on her face in years. Not since before she joined the academy. I took another slow, deliberate step. My voice, when I spoke again, was different. Low. Controlled. Every word a deliberate choice. "Officer," I said, the honorific tasting like ash in my mouth. "That is not a knife. It's a travel mug. A reusable travel mug." My gaze held hers. "And what you are doing right now is violating the rights of a U.S. naval officer. I think you're going to want to put that away." A breath. A moment of pure, disbelieving confusion on Officer Karen's face. What?" she stammered, her authority cracking. That's when Layla, in the most devastatingly calm and level voice I'd ever heard, took over. "Lieutenant Layla Peterson, U.S. Navy SEAL, tactical field trainer," she said, her voice a clear, bell-like tone that carried across the lawn. "Badge number and name, please, officer." "And why is a registered firearm pointed at my chest without probable cause? I think we're going to need to have a serious conversation about your use of force training. Or rather, your clear lack of it." The air was sucked out of the entire neighborhood. The quiet was absolute. Officer Karen's jaw hung open. Patricia's phone slipped from her hand, clattering onto the curb. This was the moment everything changed. The twist wasn't just my daughter's profession. It was the utter, brutal competence she displayed in that moment. A stark contrast to the sloppy, theatrical display of power we just witnessed. The backup arrived a few minutes later, two young, professional officers. They took in the scene, the bewildered Officer Karen, the crumpled phone, Layla standing perfectly still, and me, a mother with a gaze that could melt steel. The officers looked at Officer Karen, then at Layla. "I'm telling you, this woman threatened me," Officer Karen shrieked, her composure utterly gone. "She's a menace. She's got a knife. Look at her. She's answering your call," one of the new officers said, his face a perfect blank. He glanced at Layla's mug, then back at Officer Karen. His partner knelt, picking up Patricia's phone and glancing at the screen. The evidence was all there. The text messages and the staged call to dispatch. It was a setup. A pathetic, desperate attempt to use their perceived authority to bully someone they disliked. A pathetic, desperate attempt to exert control over a neighborhood they felt was getting out of hand. A family they couldn't stand. They had targeted us. The new family. The family that didn't fall in line. And now, they were being found out. "Ma'am," the younger officer said, his tone impossibly gentle as he addressed Layla. "Are you registered with a department?" Layla smiled. A small, weary, but entirely devastating smile. "On a need-to-know basis." "Yes." And this officer and her sister's actions just made that necessary. She reached into her pocket. Not for a weapon, but for a small, folded card. She handed it to the young officer. He read it, his eyebrows shooting up. His partner, reading from the phone, shook his head slowly. The look on Officer Karen's face was one of dawning horror. Her world, built on a foundation of petty rules and manufactured authority, was crumbling. Her power, once so absolute in her own mind, was revealed as the flimsy, dangerous facade it truly was. She had pointed a gun at a decorated war veteran, a woman whose training far exceeded her own, all over a patch of grass. The irony was so thick it was suffocating. They were both taken into custody. Officer Karen, for assault with a deadly weapon, abuse of power, and filing a false report. Patricia, for conspiracy. As the handcuffs clicked into place, a tear of pure, impotent rage rolled down Officer Karen's cheek. She turned and looked at me, her eyes hollow, empty. My heart ached. Not for her. But for the brokenness of it all. The waste. The sheer, senseless violence of it. Layla and I just stood there, watching the scene unfold. When the police cars pulled away, the silence returned. But this time, it was a peaceful silence. A silence filled with the gentle whisper of a breeze through the trees. A silence that felt like healing. I wrapped my arms around my daughter, and she leaned into my embrace. We didn't need to say a word. We just held each other. The quiet understanding of shared trauma passing between us. The grass seemed a little greener. The air a little cleaner. The neighborhood still looked the same. But it felt entirely different. It felt like we had reclaimed something. Something fundamental. The right to be. The right to exist without fear. The next day, the story spread like wildfire. The HOA was in chaos. The neighborhood was in an uproar. The truth was out. The bully was defeated. Not by force, but by her own hubris. Her own gross misuse of power. It was a lesson for us all. A stark reminder that some people will do anything to maintain control. No matter how insignificant their authority. And it was a testament to the fact that true strength isn't in a weapon, but in integrity, resilience, and the quiet dignity of knowing who you are. Do you think justice was served? Or did the situation escalate in a way that was unnecessary? Where do you draw the line between standing up for yourself and taking things too far? Share your thoughts below.